Welcome to the James Imaging YouTube channel, where we talk about tips and tricks for business technology. Today we're going to go through how to set up a form using DocuWare's inherent web form designer. Think of this like the big brother to fillable PDFs. In that instance, that requires you to send a PDF to somebody via email. The person then has to download it, fill it out, save a signed copy on their desktop, and then email it back to you. A published DocuWare form can be accessed via the web by anybody if it's made public and can be housed on your website or sent as a link. So today we're going to go through two things. One, the demo of it, and then two, I'll show you how it was built. All right. So in our demo system, we have a number of forms already set up. I'm going to use the example of a webinar registration form that we use internally here at James Imaging. So in order to launch that, I'm simply going to, I'm on my Forms tab, click this clipboard icon, and it's going to pop up in a new browser. When we use this form, we had the link embedded in an HTML invite that we sent to our clients. As you can see, it's a simple form that only required a few bits of basic information. We've got some pictures and some static information that mimicked the information that their invite, the HTML email, had, making it easy for people to register for the webinar. All four fields are required, as you can see by the asterisks. When I hit submit on this, the registrant gets a confirmation page. In the background, we have a workflow that kicked off an email notification to a couple people on our staff. We're not going to go over how to set up that email notification today. That's going to be in a different video. When we go to our, and here, let's fill this out really quick. We are going to use my name and then my email address. Oh, not Gmail, jamesmg.com. If you have any, that's my actual email. So if you have questions, you can totally email me there. School, let's say School of Hard Knocks is the school or district that I represent for this educational webinar, and I'm going to hit submit. Now, when we go to our DocuWare screen, I had a list of 3, and I have a saved search just running because it was a project that we wanted to keep a close eye on. So I wanted to know how many registrants I had at any given time. If you'll notice, that 3 just changed to a 4. An email notification got kicked off to my 2 coworkers. I'll apologize to them later. And if I click that, quick note, if you click it when it's red, it's going to automatically send you to the correct list, a list being a saved search. However, I could have pushed this down arrow. Now that it's yellow, if I click lists, it just pops up with that flyout menu. And I could have chosen my list from there. But quick little tidbit that DocuWare gives you. Cleared out all of our actual registrants. So here you're only going to see the test ones that I sent through. This one, the second one right here, if you'll click it, as you would have guessed, is the one that we just submitted. All right. Now that you've seen that, and this is a web form, so it's going to look very similar to how it looked when I built the form itself. Now that you've seen what it does, let's look at the backside and see how it was set up. So here comes the fun part. We're going to switch. I'm going to close that just so you got it. Oh, here's the confirmation page saying that I successfully, so we're going to close out of all of these. What we're going to do is go to the almighty configure page, and you get there by going to the system flyout menu, hitting configurations. As always, I'm the admin in this demo system, so I have a lot of options. If you don't have this forms tool, it's because you don't have permissions, so check with your system administrator, they can get you permissions. But if you go to, so it was flyout menu, configurations, here's your configurations page. We're under capture because we want to capture information, and go to your forms tool. Here's where it gets really fun. I've got a number of forms. You can see the ones that are published and the ones that aren't published. Right now I have all of them published. If I go to my PaperCut webinar registration form and hit the pencil tool to edit, it's going to pop up with our forms tool. So right across the top, first thing, always make sure you're using good naming convention. So name it something that you're going to know what it is in 2 months when you go back and you have to edit forms or look for something specific. This one was pretty simple for us. And then across the top, it's basically walking you through the entire process. So if you go tab by tab, it's pretty intuitive, but I'll show you each step as we go. So we've got the designer, the submission where you state what happens when you submit, the output, super simple for this one, indexing values and permissions. The designer tool, this gets to be a ton of fun. In our instance here, we created this form using images like the header. You can see that's all one image. We used fixed text. So down here, there you have a selection of fixed elements. I just always wanted to say register for webinar and the information. That's all fixed. Here's where we put in the fields. These are 4 single line text fields. They're all required. And you set all of those properties over here in the field settings on your right-hand side. And then that was it, really. Just static text, pictures, and four fields. Now, of course, you could drag out different things. Let's say I wanted to resize it. DocuWare tries to help you out by keeping things organized, and it snaps it to a grid, which sometimes is super helpful, and it makes a pretty looking form. Sometimes it's the death of me. I could drag out multiple choice. So if you can tell by my background, it's Christmas. So if I wanted to say, instead of field choice, I'm going to say favorite Lynch movie. And our options are the classic, the Jim Carrey version, and the Benedict Cumberbatch. Sure. Sorry, Benedict, I don't know how to spell your name. Okay, so you saw as I typed it changed. These are multiple choice, so you're only going to be able to choose one option. If you need something where you want to check box a lot of different options, that's when you're going to do a drop down. Or I'm sorry, a checkbox. All right, so we are going to delete that because it was pretty as is. Oh, one thing that I do want to show you here while we're here is if I wanted to collect a signature. I can drag this out. I can make this any size I want. Signature is very cool because so many of our forms are now accessed via mobile. I'm going to hold up my phone here. This field allows us to sign everything with our finger, which is becoming more and more acceptable for legal documents. Still maybe not for government documents, but anything internal we can use that for, definitely. And then let me see here, signature. Oh, if you're accessing it on a computer, it's a little bit more clunky in that you have to sign with a mouse. Still works as an acceptable signature or a legal binding signature. However, I like the mobile, especially when it's something that's going to be used on the phone. Okay, so that's our design tool. Super easy. You saw me drag it out. I can change the formatting of it very quickly. I can change the information on the page. as very important here, if I made changes, always go up and save. Save early, save often. After the design tool, I'm going to switch to the submission tool. This is when you're telling the system what I want to do with that information once the registrant or the user hits submit. For today's purpose, we're sticking with that web form. It's going to make our lives a lot easier. Why complicate things? Although the merge form is so powerful and so cool. It basically takes, if you have your own format for a form that everyone's used to seeing, you can turn the form digital, but still the output is going to look exactly like the PDF or whatever it is that your employees or your coworkers are used to seeing, because you can map the data that they input from all of these fields directly onto the formatting that you're used to seeing. It's very simple, but that will be in a different video. And then post-submission options. What is the user going to see? We wanted to simply show this message after form submission, and that's what we chose to write. Now, looking back, maybe we should have also checked this, show a start a new form button, if multiple people from the same company wanted to register for the webinar. If we wanted to change that, I just go up and hit save, and now it's a part of the live form. You also have an option to automatically redirect them to a new web page, but that wasn't needed for today. Next is the output. Because we're choosing web form, this one is super simple. You do need to select both options, but so it's not a flyover tab, but very simple. All we were doing was selecting the DocuWare filing cabinet that was going to be destined to hold all of the submitted forms. We have one set up for JIS registrations. Okay. That's what denotes the indexing fields. You'll see that in a little bit here. And then document format, you have either A4 or letter. Most people are going to choose letter. Again, save early, save often, and then moving on to your next tab. Here's our indexing. So the indexing fields, I'm going to flip my tab in my browser, but we'll come right back to this. So our indexing fields are what show up on our results list. This is our results list. Okay. Anything that I denote as an indexing field is going to show up here. Now going back to our form indexing, the indexing fields, as we talked about in the previous output tab here, when I chose the filing cabinet, I said these are the indexing fields that I want. Document type, you have two options for source over here. You either can pull from a web form field, so something that they input. For the document type, I wanted that a fixed value to make sure that I could search within this document type for anybody named Anna, for anybody named Jim Carrey, you name it. But that's what helps me denote that and keep some consistency to the madness. So a fixed value, and I put in my fixed value over here. Under school, and basically all the rest of them, I just wanted those 4 fields that the system or the user had input when they submitted that form. So the source is a web form field. The value is the field label that we put in under the design tab. That's where that value resides. Okay, once we got done with all of that, again, save early, save often, so hit save once again. The last tab, very quickly, if you're doing a form like this, where it doesn't matter, you're not doing it for your internal users, you're only going to have one user assigned permissions, and then it's going to be a public check form. If you're doing something internal where you need specific people to have rights, you click that plus sign, and then you can go through and select either from all your individual system users or by roles. If there were specific, if you're tied into your Active Directory, you can have all department managers have access to it. You can have your executive management team have access to it, and then it'll dynamically change as the roles within your Active Directory change. Makes it easy for administration. But in today's example, super simple, we wanted a public form. Here's the thing about public forms. At some point, everyone is going to create a form that's beautiful, works just like they wanted, everything is slick, everything is great. You test it and it looks amazing, and then you send it to somebody to have them test it, and they email back what form the link is broken. Chances are you forgot to click this little tiny thing down at the bottom saying public form, giving everyone else access to it. When you click it, you also need to configure, and it's going to ask you for your system credentials to make sure that you do in fact want this information to be turned public. It's a safety precaution. So you just input your DocuWare password, validate credentials, hit OK. All right, after we're done with all of that and you hit save one last time, it is now time to publish your form. And that is like when you're absolutely, like you can throw the confetti, you can break a bottle of champagne, you're good to go. Or just send it off for testing. But it'll show you the link to the document. So that's what you can start embedding in web pages. You can send links to your HTML. Like in this case, we sent it to the marketing department. You can open it in a browser to look at it. And there you go. There is your web form. All right, so I believe that covered everything that we could possibly cover, maybe, with web forms. Congratulations on that. So use the comment thread below. Let us know how your first web form turns out. Give our channel a follow if you want to be notified about new business technology tips and tricks. If you would like to schedule a personal demo of the webinar system that we're using today, we have a scheduling assistant set up on our webpage, which is jamesimaging.com. And as always, have a great day.